Did he? Here we go. All right. And we're up in 5-4. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Santita Jackson Show. Happy 4th of July. Yes, yes, yes. You know, it's a moment. I have always loved the 4th of July holiday um, for so many reasons. For so many reasons. As a child, you were really engaged with your neighborhood. There were cookouts, da da da. But my mother and father did cookouts constantly. But it was just always a lot of fun. It was a time of in which we gathered, and I had the blessing of having had parents who were very involved in the bicentennial back in 1976. So that had its own excitement for the whole country, right? And now, though, we're at a very different point in our history. My brother, former Congressman Jesse Jackson Jr., wrote a book some years ago. I would encourage you all to buy it. It's entitled More Perfect Union. It's absolutely brilliant. He takes us through the history of our country from the bottom up. As my father said, there's a manger up experience and a mansion down experience. Jesus was in the manger, Pharaoh was in the mansion. And it takes you through our experience from the manger up. And I think that's what we're looking at right now. When you look at Zoran Mamdani and his win, which really mirrors a candidacy that he endorsed 4 years before, India Walton, who shook up the establishment in Buffalo, New York, a nurse who just knocked on doors, and she became the Democratic nominee. Just brilliant. I said, "How did you do it?" She said, "I met with people and found out what they wanted." And mind you, that's no small feat. Buffalo, New York is the second biggest city in the state of New York. And Assemblyman Mamdani endorsed her then. Think about that. And now we've got a president who's threatening to denaturalize him. But no, don't shake your head, because Black people have been here more than 200 years building this country, and the plan was to send us to Africa. We've been here before. We're just not historical enough to understand that what's past is prologue. The American Colonization Society had a plan to send Black people who had built the country with unpaid labor to Africa. They even went to the trouble of forming a country called Liberia. They were like, "Your work here is here. Your work is done here. You gotta go." Now we've got indigenous people who speak Spanish because they're speaking the language of their conquerors. They're as Spanish as I am English. We're figuring out a way to kick them out. There's a lot going on. Now, I do believe that we have got to have a discussion about where we are, who we are. We have got people who will die. The Yale study showed us that 51,000 people will die next year if this bill goes through in its present form. That's a lot of folks, everybody. And that's just off the top. That's off the top. We have $1 trillion that was moved out of healthcare and into the military. And not into the military, into Boeing, into Northrop Grumman, into Raytheon, da da da. Because the people who really, really make the money in the military are not the enlistees. It's the military industrial contractors. They're the ones who make the money. Have you been to Washington, D.C. lately? It is one of Washington, the DMV is the wealthiest part of the country, because that is where the military is. You've got the city of the Vatican, which is the religious center of the world, of the Western world. You've got the city of London, which is inside of London. That is where the banks are. You've got the District of Columbia. That is where the military resides for the Western world. And you see it when you see the wealth in Rome, when you see the wealth surrounding London, you see the wealth surrounding Washington, D.C. But my father said some time ago, he was speaking, he said, "How many of you need a bomb today?" He said, "No, everybody raise your hand." And people started giggling. He said, "Yeah, I didn't think so. We need bread." But this is what is about to go through. We need to talk about that, where this money is going. where this money is going. I've got a tremendous panel who can help us to talk about it because we're watching the carve outs. Rush Darwish, Arab Americans Forward, Ronnie Patrice, Palestinian American activist, but you are a Democratic activist and you are also you consult with campaigns, you shape messages. That's just the reality. And so you understand what this is. Dr. Alia Amar, social justice advocate, brilliant scientist, and Shapiro Wells. She just ran for office here just a few months ago. So proud of her. Brilliant caterer. She has the Courtney Copeland Foundation, named for her son. Um, and she's about to become a mama-in-law again. So there we go. Lady Jasmine's about to have a big, big, big wedding that her mother's putting on right now. But I want to talk with all of you about what it is that you're seeing. Shapiro also is a foster mother to 4 children, one of whom has stage 4 cancer. Exactly. I think at least 3 of them are on the spectrum. If they don't get the Medicare subsidies, one of her children is going to be in that 51,000 persons. She's not, is she 15, Shapiro? Tell us what's going on with you. How will these cuts impact?
Well, Santita, thank you so much for having me on the show again. And these cuts will be devastating to the kids that I help. Like you said, I have four foster children, 3 of them with special needs. I have two who are on the spectrum, and one with stage 4 cancer. So they have a necessity for these medical services. They also get psychological treatment. They get OT. They get physical therapy. All of these things that are covered under the Medicaid system. So for them not to have access to this type of life-saving uh, benefits, for 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 them, this could be life or death. And this is what some of the Americans are actually facing at this time, is that they're facing this type of dilemma. So not only am I facing that as a foster mom, but there are people out here who are struggling to pay medical bills, struggling to decide if they want to pay for prescription drugs or if they want to eat. And so when this bill passes, it's only going to increase the number of people. They're talking about 16 million people that will be kicked off of medical assistance. And then when you put that on top of the people that are going to be uh, the most vulnerable people kicked also off of food stamps, what type of country are we when we have no compassion for the ill or the hungry? And so it's very concerning for me as a person who will be affected by this. It's I'm we're trying our best to prepare ourselves. In the kids trying to buy up, asking for a 90-day prescription so that way we could get things filled. So at least we know we have a 3-month supply. But that's how I'm beginning to think ahead of the game, to try to buy myself some time to see before these draconian cuts come through. And I think it's inevitable that these breaks will happen, that these cuts will happen. And I think that if America doesn't stand up for the most impoverished people of this country, it's going to completely also wipe out our middle class. And so we're already seeing higher costs for prescription drugs. We're already seeing higher costs for gas and food and housing, which is taking our middle class into poverty. The average 1 bedroom apartment in Chicago right now is like 2 grand a month. So when we think about the cost of living and healthcare, everything, it is not sustainable what they're doing to this country. And what we're seeing is that it's not getting better, at least not for us here in the 98% of the world. It is only getting worse, Santita, and I'm very concerned.
I think we ought to be. I'm going to skip around this panel. Rania, what say you? I mean, because now we're seeing, and I go to Rania because she has been on Capitol Hill. We've interacted with these elected officials, kind of really absolutely know how it works. Not that no one else on the panel does, but this is kind of sort of what you do. And we're watching, everyone is amplifying Senator Lisa Murkowski's carve outs. She, of course, is the centrist Democratic senator from moderate, call it, from Alaska. Um, Only heaven knows the kind of wrangling that goes on behind closed doors because she has done carve outs, right? But we don't know what all that's about. We do know these carve outs have given Alaska a pass. We do know that in the lower house, districts will get a pass because these representatives, these U.S. representatives, and these U.S. senators have gone to the president and they've asked for them and they bargained with them and they traded off and whatever else it is. But these cuts are absolutely, they're going to be devastating, Ronnie.
Yeah, and honestly, I don't even know, like Alaska and some of these other, some of the specific districts where they've done all these behind closed doors games and schemes and whatnot. I don't, we're going to wait and see, but I don't necessarily know that they're going to not be impacted. You know what I mean? Because
Oh,
there's
yeah.
so many different places to get nailed on this, frankly. I mean, it's not just Medicaid is it's a huge, massive one that I think is so many people are going to feel. The reality is people have people that they love across city lines, across county lines, across state lines. So I don't even think those people that sold out, frankly, sold the rest of the country out for their own benefit. And I will go to my grave believing that it's not even because they care about people. It's because they don't want to lose their job, which wouldn't it be great if we had people who cared about people? But another conversation. I think this is going to have
but don't you think that should be part of the conversation too?
Absolutely. And meanwhile, and I do just have to name this thing, I'm an equal opportunity, whatever you want to call it, but this is a Republican bill through and through. But then we have the Democratic leader in the Senate patting himself on the back because he got the name changed. This is what he's tweeting about. Or whatever, X or whatever, the level of disconnect from, and Chaparral was talking about, these are moral decisions. These are issues of morality and humanity, or inhumanity, as it were. And you've got the leader of the Democratic caucus in the Senate bragging because he was able to get the name changed.
What does that say to you?
That you don't give a damn about people. And to your point, this absolutely should be part of the conversation.
Yeah.
Because my God, we keep electing the same types of people over, and there are exceptions, right? There are exceptions that we can hold up and say, they center humanity, they center equity and justice and all things, but they are an exception and not the rule. And just like you said, I've spent way too much time. I refuse to live in DC because of the cesspool that it is, but I spent a whole lot of time there, including, recently. And everybody's playing these games.
Well, wait a minute. Part of the reason, let me ask you this, because I think this is part of the conversation too, Dr. Amar and Rush, and Chaparral, because DC, there is a bubble. Because number one, DC is a wealthy city. So a lot of this pain you don't feel. You really, really don't. You don't feel it. You don't have to see it. I mean, they talk about Boston being expensive and LA. DC is no joke. DC is a very expensive place because most people there in the DMV, DC, Maryland, Virginia, just draw that circle around the district, go out about 30, 40 miles. People are doing, if they've been in government long enough, they have 6-figure a year jobs. if you are a lobbyist, if you are a contractor, you're making money. So there is a lot, that's why I'm saying I can understand how, I don't like it, but how Chuck Schumer on the Hill, he's patting himself on the back as other people are. He is disconnected. And what's so sad is that he was just on his book tour and he was shouted out of the New York Public Library. Did you see that? He went into his talk and these people had a protest for him. A couple hundred people in the audience. They got started with it. He was shouted down all through. I mean, he lost most of his audience. Most of the people in there were there to protest him. Just completely disconnected. And they're disconnected from the people who work downstairs. Because these people don't see the folks who box up things for you on the Hill. I worked on the Hill when I was in college. You don't see the people who serve your food because they don't have to eat in that cafeteria because members have their own dining room. And it is fabulous. But they're not paying attention to anyone. Ronnie?
Yeah, no, I mean that's exactly it. But that too is a choice.
Yeah.
That is a choice. You are not you, they are choosing to be disconnected from the people that they supposedly serve. And this is not new either, but government is supposed to work for the people, right? I mean, that's theoretically what's supposed to happen. That hasn't happened in my lifetime. Mm-mm. Or at least in my career time, I should say. And, that is not something that they don't work for us. They work for lobbyists and corporate PACs and the folks that are lining their pockets. And so, of course, they're disconnected from their constituents because they don't think they need them. They forgot that they work for us. And it is upsetting in ways that, I mean, I don't even have the words sometimes because we're talking about cutting food support to veterans. We're talking about adding to the national debt, and supposedly Republicans are fiscally conservative, right? But we're adding $3.5 trillion to the debt. And like, how is that fiscally conservative? And then you're talking about kids losing their school lunches. I mean, the inhumanity of that, of sending kids to school hungry and saying, that's okay with me. I don't even, and then not to mention like gas bills being, utilities and gas prices and all those things being higher, like the day-to-day things that people have to think about, more money to surveillance and deportation, SNAP food cuts. I mean, it's like, it is a menu, a laundry list of showing the world and constituents like, we do not care about you. But Chuck Schumer got the name changed. So y'all, let's take a victory lap.
Unbelievable. I got the name changed. Dr. Amar.
So, I was talking about this a few weeks ago. I'm going to keep talking about this because this seems very consistent with the overall arch that we're taking as a country. The overall move towards authoritarianism, the overall move towards establishing a permanent underclass. This isn't being done because people don't care. It's being done because they only care about a very small percentage of the people. Those are the people that they consider to be human enough, deserving enough. You got to hear ridiculousness out of Dr. Oz's mouth about people showing that they have worth in order to deserve health care benefits. You were born, if I'm not mistaken, we've had for a very long time in this country, on the right wing, people who are pro-life, 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 no matter what. Give a damn about those lives when they're here. Give a damn about those lives when they are hungry, when they are sick. Don't talk to me about Jesus if your Jesus isn't compassionate, because my Jesus is compassionate. Don't talk to me about your faith if your faith does not mean that the person next to you is worthy. My prayer before I eat a meal is that I remain among those who follow God and do not fill our bellies while our neighbors go hungry. And so I plead with God to fill their bellies, to make my food, my meal just. We don't have people who are considerate of the remainder of humanity. We have people who consider themselves above the remainder of humanity and who want a permanent underclass. So, how do we actually get there from the society that we've had? If you're desperate enough, then you eventually have to do whatever it is that those empowered demand of you. You have to silence your voice. You have to work for almost nothing. You have to limit your meals and be grateful for the fact that they threw scraps from their tables at you. This is the society that we have worked very hard for hundreds of years not to have. And this is the society that they want right now. And it is up to us to fight. It is up to us to recognize our humanity and to recognize the humanity of one another and care about one another. I grieve that someone's child is going to be ill and without health care. I grieve that someone is going to be sitting at a table with less food when they already didn't know where to get enough food. Yeah, I come from a family where my grandmother had 8 children when she was widowed in the Jim Crow South. And she had to figure out at different times how to feed her children. I heard stories that involved things like sharing a single jar of peanut butter and each child getting a spoonful so that their bellies weren't in pain during the night. Why on earth would we capitulate to the recreation of such a society? But as long as they convince us that your struggle doesn't matter, or that if you advance, then I can't advance, then we fight each other and they win over and over and over. And what you are seeing both out of the Senate, where you have the same 2 senators constantly saying that they have, you know, they have insight and they have compassion and they can't possibly go with what is being pushed on the public until the last minute, and maybe they got some carve outs for their district, but they always flip. They always flip. Same two, they always flip. And then you have a house that is trying to hold on. But how did we get to this space? We have people that enveloped themselves in a lot of nonsense, a lot of things that did not matter as much as bread on the table, cancer medication, heart medication. You know, we had people that began to buy into the culture war. Well, of course, there's a culture war. There's a culture war anytime that they need to divide the larger population into small enough pieces for 2% of our country to become richer yet again. So I don't see it as an accident. I see it as intentional because this underclass, when we think about what's happening under this authoritarian regime, where we have ICE running into fields and taking the workers out of fields, the migrant workers who were already cleared, they already had permission to work in this country, and then they're taken out of the fields. So the fields are rotting. And who's going to be picking the next fields, planting the next fields? Who's going to be doing the work that no one has wanted to do so far except the people who came to this country for safety? It'll be the people who don't have Medicaid unless they work.
But hold on.
Work.
It has always been thus in this country. What's past is prologue. You know what? There is no social promotion in God.
Mhm.
Man, woman, we pass kids who can't read from one grade to the next. God does not let you do that. We didn't learn from slavery, racialized slavery in this country, and other forms of peonage. We've learned nothing. We always want someone to come in here and work for cheap. We always want things for cheap.
Yeah.
We don't want to pay people. We don't want to treat people right. And Solomon, I hear you. I love you. But I disagree with you. You said, how did so many Americans become brainwashed? No one is trying to hurt people. Trump is trying to correct the losses and damage Biden left. Biden didn't do that much damage. The country was already damaged, Solomon.
Mhm.
We were already tens of trillions of dollars in debt when he came in. The thing is, we have priorities that are off. We build bombs that we just drop them and kill people, and we deny people bread. We are not going to be blessed for that, Solomon.
And Americans are
And
not
they
going
and they are
to
trying to hurt people. They don't care because you know what? There's something called the overpopulation discussion.
Yeah.
The Council of Catholic Bishops has even talked about it. It is a myth. But you have people like Prince William, you have people like Ted Turner, all these people all over the place telling you that there are too many people in the world. My pastor told me, I've never seen God make a mouth that God couldn't feed. Everybody belongs here. You need to deal with that. Because these are the same people who think that you do not deserve to be here. What does that mean? Hold on. Let me bring in Rush. Because I want to come on and respond. I'm gonna find a way for us to be able to talk to each other. Because typing and all this does not work for me. But my mother said to me, when I had each one of you, we couldn't afford any of you. Who do you want me to put back? Rush?
17 million, Santita. That's the number. That is the magic number. That's a lot of people that will have their insurance either cut or partially cut. And even if you break it state by state, and I'm always looking what I call the analytics. I mean, think about this. In Florida, almost 1 million people could get their coverage cut. In Illinois, my home state, and Dr. Alia's home state, 500,000 people will be without insurance based on this big, beautiful bill. So we have a situation where, and this is what hurts the most, and I want to direct this towards Rania. When I lived in Texas, I lived in Tyler, Texas. The part that always upset me the most, which not at the people, but at, unfortunately, Solomon said brainwashed. Oh my gosh. Go to Tyler, Texas, because they speak on behalf of millions of Americans that are so blindly loyal to the Republican brand and the ideology that I don't need help. You can make it, you can make it on your own. And these are people that are starving. The schools in East Texas, when I lived there, half of them were, I don't know how to put this mildly, were hot garbage.
Yeah.
People were literally living in poverty type wages. And the problem is when you speak to them and you actually tell them, which, by the way, just 5 months ago, I had a friend come in from Tyler. They're hardcore Republicans. They love them some Donald Trump. Sorry, Ronnie, I had to just, I'm imitating their accent. And when you talk to them about, do you know how many federal programs that are being given to various neighborhoods and in rural areas of this country because they take it, they advocate for it, and it has helped schools, it has helped libraries, but because you are so close-minded to the idea that there's so many benefits out in this universe that a lot of people go starving and they lack educational necessities, and they lack all the benefits that the government offers. So what is my point here is that we have, once again, a Republican ideology that has taken over Washington, D.C. And the thing that is really just heartbreaking is that there's a lot of Republicans who support Donald Trump. Solomon, you talk about brainwash? No, that is the purest form of being brainwash, is that because you are in love with Donald Trump and that's it, you are just blind to what is happening. Hey, you might lose access to healthcare. Hey, if you care about climate change, guess what? That is cut. By the way, if you had a student loan, there was a chance that at some point that could have been forgiven. Now it's not forgiven. And again, people just find out the hard way. They just end up being poor. They go broke, and they have no idea that this bill right here is the reason why all that happened. How do we change that? That is the question. And the truth is, I don't put that on the Republicans. I put it on the Dems. Like, how are you not driving this message home? When you have a bill like this that's saying increase military funding and not increasing educational funding, this tells you, if you have a bill that is saying to increase, immigration papers, something about like if you try and apply for immigration papers, the people that run that department, that also got cut. So They're cutting everything that hurts everyday people. But again, the folks that can really change that are the ones who are the poorest. But they just turn a blind eye because they just say, I love Donald Trump. It's heartbreaking, and we've got to find a way to change that.
And you know what? This is beyond Trump. You know, quite frankly, the country is broken.
Mhm.
No one's being honest. No one's being honest about the fact that the country doesn't have any money.
Right, but MAGA is not a meal.
No,
MAGA is not,
some
it's not going to fill your belly.
some of them do, but many of them don't, and that's why many of them are going off on TikTok and all around. Because the thing is,
Santita, I want to add. I want to add one more point though that is important. At least there is a little bit of a bright spot, a little bit. In the House right now, they're at a deadlock. The bill has yet to go for a vote because there's enough Republicans that are saying no way. As much as Republicans say they hate the healthcare system, the idea that they have to go back to their constituents, which, by the way, that's forgotten, is like at the end of the day, your insurance matters. You know, while some people don't care, Santita, you mentioned somebody who maybe makes good money and they make a good living. But, you know, at the end of the day, if let's say I bought my insurance as part of the open marketplace and I got it at a discounted rate, and now let's say 2 months from now, after this bill goes through, I know that you may all know when that actually will start affecting those kind of bills. But if I'm paying, let's say, $900 a month, and now that goes up to $1,500 a month, or I'm told, oh, by the way, that insurance plan that you're on no longer exists. You now have to find other insurance and pay a lot more. And that's at least, give it up to at least some other Republicans. I can't get all the names, but in Wisconsin and other states, they're saying no. In North Carolina, they're like no. Let's wait a second here. They are actually having some pushback, and I think it might be a little bit too early for big beautiful Bill and Donald Trump to do a victory lap, because this thing has to pass the House, and I'm not sold that it's going to pass right as we speak.
Well, no, there is a possibility that it will not pass. But let me address Solomon just very quickly before you come in, Chaparral. You said Trump is removing the fraud from Medicaid and making some work at least 20 hours a week for their benefits. I wish. He even questioned Elon Musk and questioned people about Elon Musk's work at Doge. He said, I feel like we've been had here because he didn't cut enough.
Mhm.
Because the fraud and the waste and the abuse is not there. The Pentagon
Right.
failed their audit 7 consecutive times. Let that settle in on you. The Pentagon failed their audit 7 consecutive times. I remember when I was in school in the 80s, they had little widgets that belonged to toilets that were $1,000.
I remember that. Yeah.
And that was like, what? I mean, wait a minute. That's all the Pentagon. Waste, fraud, and abuse. No, and you know what? If someone is going to get over on me because they're trying to deal with their cancer treatment, please have at it. But if you want to get over on me because you want to bomb Gaza and you want to bomb Yemen and you want to starve out Haiti, I got a problem with that. But nobody wants to touch these folks, the Pentagon, the military. And let me say this, Solomon, I am a fair woman. And you said that my show is very one-sided. No, I have a point of view. No one asked Tucker Carlson about his point of view. I got a point of view. I'm an adult. And you got to know when you come here what you're looking for, what you're going to find here. You're going to find this point of view, which you find in pitifully few places. But what I try to do is be fair. I have brought Republicans on here, and many of you have objected to the Republicans I've brought on. Because you said this space only belongs to us. No, it belongs to everybody. That having been said, you are going to see more Republicans on my show because I do want to talk to everybody. I don't have a problem with that. But the side that I present, I have a worldview. What I've done is correct people when they've had the facts wrong. I don't let people call President Trump out of his name. I don't go MAGA crazy. I think some people do have Trump derangement syndrome, and it gets on my last nerve because we act as if he is the problem instead of being a symptom of a deeper problem that we have got. Yeah. That is the reason that the media got behind him, and the corporations have been asking this man to run. They've been setting him up to run for president for 40 years. Mm-hmm. They said in a CNN interview, who was it? One of the big Gloria Borger did a profile of Donald Trump after he was saved from bankruptcy, because it was his big comeback. I lived in New York when he went bust, almost personally bust and corporately bust, and in his personal life, because his divorce and his corporations, everything went bust at the same time. He owed almost $1 billion personally and billions corporately. And his marriage was coming apart. It was big news, and I felt sad, because who wants anyone to go through that? I don't care. That having been said, he came back from it. And you know what? The banker, Mr. Pomerantz, the lawyer who oversaw the 72 banks, this came from CNN, not me. 72 banks, he was in hock to them. He said, we decided to let him live because he was worth more to us alive than dead, which meant that to keep him out of bankruptcy, they said he's a great salesman. So the person who literally oversaw his bankruptcy became his commerce secretary. Don't hate the player, hate the game.
Hello.
There's some people who they don't want in the presidency. They won't let you near it. I know this from my own Christian experience, because they don't let you in unless you are going to be someone who's going to oversee the empire. If you want to feed the hungry, if you want to eradicate poverty, they don't want you there. They don't want you on TV. They don't want you on the radio. They don't want you. So that's what I'm here doing. I'm offering up a viewpoint, my dear friend, because I love you and I appreciate the fact that you come here and you're part of the show. He did not help my dead father's campaign in the 80s. No, he did not. He did not. What you saw, let me correct that. In 1988, at the end of his campaign, Mike Tyson and Don King invited my father to his fight in June of 1988. It was a fight that lasted like less than a minute. I went to the hotel because I was on my way trying to lose a little weight for the convention. And I saw John Johnson, the publisher of Ebony and Jet, who my father used to sell magazines for, who my father ended up campaigning to get his magazines in the stores because they would not sell Ebony and Jet magazine on the magazine stands. You had to buy it like you bought the Final Call newspaper. And some other people my father was going to take to this fight. The fight was held at one of Donald Trump's casinos. Donald Trump, because my father was so popular at that time, was a very gracious host, and he's a gracious guy. He has a lot of friends. He's not the guy that we've seen. It's not the guy that we have met. He's always been a nice, fun guy. He met my father and rolled out the red carpet, and he walked into the fight with him. Those are the images that you see. He did not endorse Reverend's candidacy, and he did not give us any money. So let's stop with that lie right now. What he did do, when he was also considering a run for the presidency on the reform ticket of Ross Perot, and because he and Reverend have had a good relationship, when we started the Wall Street Project, he let us have office space rent-free for a year. And I'm grateful to him for that. He said, I can sign on to that. That's a great idea, because Wall Street does need to look like Main Street. He is someone who would put Jewish people and black. He got the first black and the first Jewish person in the country club in Palm Beach. He's done that. I'll give him that. So that's what you've seen. So that is not so. No, he did not. No, it was not in the campaign. That's not true. That's not true. I know because I was there. This is the Wall Street Project. Now I have to clear that up, because I continue to hear people pass on that. I don't have a problem. Look, everybody calls for unity. Here you go. Here we go. Everybody calling for unity. I want to save America. I just think he's going about it the wrong way. So let's just stop. I'm not anti-Trump. I'm pro-America. But when America does something that is incorrect, I'm going to criticize it. That is my obligation as a citizen. And that's your obligation.
You can't be pro-America if you don't care about all Americans. I don't
How
hate
can you
rich
say
people.
you love
Yeah,
America,
right.
but
I
you
don't hate
want to
rich
starve
people.
Americans? And wait a minute, hold
Yeah,
on, I gotta say this. Hold on.
go ahead.
When you say, I hear you, cyber group hug, let me tell you something. Correctional officer for the lockdown, love you. And I love you, Solomon. Just because you see me get just because you see me get a little warm does not mean I don't love you. Nuh-uh. We can fight and fuss and hug at the end of this conversation. I'm not calling you out. I'm not calling you out of your name. I love you and appreciate you, Solomon. I appreciate you. So wait a minute. That's how I roll on this show. But I'm going to say what I need to say, and I am going to correct misinformation. Rush, Ron Pearl, and Dr. Amar, because I keep seeing this in social media, and I want it to stop. And he's not stopping the war in Gaza. His son-in-law is partnered up with the Saudis, building bombs, and they're dropping them on Gazans right now. That's the truth. You think I didn't know that, Rush? Makes me sick. We all ought to be disgusted by it. Yes, Dr. Amar.
So getting back to the love of America, because you know what? If we all love America, let's start there. We all love America. I don't hate rich people. Fine, you have your wealth. How are you using your wealth? What are you doing with your wealth? Why are the richest people in the world starving the poorest people in the world? This idea that it's okay to demand work from people in exchange for Medicare benefits, it is beneath a compassionate country, because a compassionate country recognizes that some of its citizens may not be able to do certain things at certain times. I don't believe that poor people wake up in the morning going, you know what I want? I want another day of not being able to provide for myself. I want another day of anxiety and work and worry and fear. I want another day of living in this manner.
Alia, wait a minute. They wake up every day going to work. They
Hello,
were, they were the
because
ones
the
who worked. They
poor
were the
are the
frontline
working
workers
poor.
during the
Yes,
pandemic. I
yes,
saw them on the bus stop at 3 and 4 in the morning.
exactly.
Are you
We
kidding me?
already have working poor. But look, even for the people who don't work, that doesn't mean that they can't live with dignity. What are you going to say to the person with multiple sclerosis who can't walk, who can't move their fingers, who can't, even get through their day feeding themselves, when they have to now, in order to get the health care benefits for the
Let,
medication
let me let me
that
let, let me
helps
wait
them
a minute.
function as they do.
We have
Mhm.
about 12, 14 more minutes because I want everybody to go around this. I want to hear from Rush and Ronnie and Chaparral. Do you all remember volunteerism that came up under Clinton? And you remember you were supposed to work for cheap, really for free, for
Mhm.
underpaid labor for corporations.
Mhm.
That's all that this is about.
Yeah.
This is about these corporations getting a, a workforce they really don't have to pay for.
Mhm.
I read in the last segment Walmart, McDonald's, Amazon, Kroger, Uber, FedEx, Dollar Tree, Dollar General, Target, Burger King, Taco Bell, Wendy's, Home Depot, Lowe's, Walgreens, CVS. They all have full time workers or workers who work 39 and a half hours a week who are on SNAP
Yes, they are.
and Medicaid.
They
These
set
people
up
work.
the
These
company.
people work hard. My great grandmama worked hard every day.
Mhm.
I'm a generation or two removed from that. Oh, please, really? Don't you talk to me about poor people. My parents' first home that I lived in with them, that standalone home, it was attached. It was a project in Greensboro.
Mhm.
Of course, I'm gonna get warm about poor people. We have been that.
Yeah.
So wait a minute. I want to go around and let everybody say something. Rush, you have something to say. He's surrounded by all these women. Bless his heart.
I'm just being cool and being patient. I don't want to ruffle any feathers here,
You're not
Santita.
ruffling any. No, no. Look,
But
let me tell you something. I'm a very passionate person. and and you know what, and I want passion here, and we ought to be passionate about people who are not going to eat. People are going to die. Somebody ought to get upset about this. Goodness gracious, who are we?
Mhm.
What kind of person does this?
Right.
Rush, And then you can't stop dropping bombs on people. You shooting people when they're going to the food truck. Are you serious? What?
Yeah, I went
I'm
on
trying to
a
figure out where your soul is going to be. Are you where you are you just going? Are you going to be in hell forever? What is that, Rush?
I went on a morning run today with a friend, even though I run to the pantry more than anything else. That's a whole other problem that we could address later. And what we talked about was actually very important is that this isn't the 80s or the 90s. We have to be able to track these lawmakers that are on the side of injustices, whether it's Palestine, whether it's here in the United States, who make bad policy and hurts the middle class. We've got to hold people accountable. And there's a lot of things we can say here today, Santita, but to me, it comes down to what I call blind loyalty to not what is doing what's right. What is, are you doing what's best for people, or are you just looking to line your pockets? And I think this is, for me, the first step we should all start taking. I think what happened in New York City with Zahran becoming hopefully our next mayor of New York City should be a wake-up call that bad policy, bad government should be held accountable, whether you're in New York City or Illinois. And I think this is what I would like to start paying attention to. We all should pay attention to what is happening right now with some of these congressmen, these senators that are ignoring the middle class. Because when you go through the items of the bill, that's really who ends up getting screwed over. It's the middle class and the Americans that are trying to get to the middle class.
Mhm.
And to me, accountability is what this should be all about.
Chaparral, I haven't heard from you in a minute.
Yes, Santita. I wanted to tell Solomon the average American right now is paying about 55% for housing costs, another 20 to 25% for healthcare costs, and then another 20-25% to food costs, utilities, and things that are considered necessities. So when you add all of that up, guess what? Americans are underwater. And so when you think about the subsidies that we're getting, it's because we need them. It's not because we're not working, or we're lazy, or we're defrauding the system. It's because they have made it unsustainable for us to live comfortably in America. Because just like, take for instance, I was paying $897 less on my mortgage in April. And in May, they told me I got to pay $897 more for property taxes per month. So if I was not able to pay that additional cost, I would be losing my home. But it has put me in a crunch because when I got my house, I was not paying this exorbitant amount. And what we're seeing here is that this is an intentional collapse of the American economic system and structure. When
Absolutely.
it comes to not only our homes, they're collapsing the safety of our food, they're collapsing the safety of our health care. And this is an intentional act. And who is going to benefit from this collapse? The same people who are getting the tax breaks. Because as we saw what happened in COVID, we saw that.
Oh, you just went out, Chaparral. Well, I mean, Rania.
I'm sorry, when
Oh,
people
okay.
died, can you hear me?
Oh, yeah. People died during
Okay,
COVID. Yes, they
when
did.
people died during COVID, when they died during COVID, you saw funeral costs go up by 70% across America. A normal $1,500 plot went to $7,000. And so these people take advantage of the downtrodden of the American people. They don't make it better for us when these circumstances happen. They make it worse. And guess what? We're forced to figure it out and pay the higher cost each time. And so now what we're seeing, Santita, is that there has to be a come to Jesus meeting for all of America, in my opinion. And that is civil disobedience and massive disruption in our systems all across America. A united front across the 50 states and in our legislators.
Mhm.
And this is what we have to do if we want to begin to turn the tide of what I'm seeing happening, Santita. And thank you so much.
No, and and look, I mean, correctional officer for the lockdown says, please, please have Chappelle on as a regular guest. Okay, whenever I can get it, because she's got 4 foster children, in addition to these other children and a husband. Oh, so I get it when I can. I get Rush when I can. I get Ronnie when I can. Excuse me, and pardon me. Whew, this is just a lot. I mean, and they have a holdout and a holdup in. I'm just keep looking at the television because I'm looking at the news. They have a holdup in the House, Rush, because they're trying to figure these people trying to cut these deals. It's just it's so sad that these people won't just say no.
Hmm.
This this is unacceptable. Do you know what you're going to do to these? Do you know what you're going to do to people?
That's what happens, Santita, when you have a two-party system. You are a product of your party. And yes, for the Republicans right now, I guarantee you, if you did a personal underground poll with the Congress and the U.S. Senate even, I bet you half of them probably don't agree with the bill. But it's all about party line. And that's where, kind of revisits that bigger topic of, Democrats, Republicans, what are we doing here? Because that's what people are now voting. And nobody wants to be punished. If you think saying something against Israel is a punishment, imagine right now a Republican that's right now in Congress that has the guts to stand up to Donald Trump and saying, no, you are wrong. This bill is bad. And that's what a lot of Republicans right now are having to contemplate.
Well, Tillis is leaving, and Elon is looking at deportation and losing his contracts.
And Trump announced he's going to arrest Zohran, by the way.
And denaturalize him.
Yeah, he's going to arrest him if he's, in his way when it comes to ICE agents. So,
No, I mean, and it's so
wacky.
ironic because his first wife was not a citizen when she had each of their children.
I know.
Yeah. I mean, it's like, are you serious right
Good
now?
point.
Oh my gosh. I mean,
But the rules don't apply to him. They don't apply to people like him.
Yeah, doesn't apply
The
to the
rules
rich
are
and
there
powerful.
to punish the poor.
you know what? I literally need a minute from each of you. And I promise you, we are going to continue this discussion another day. And I tell you, and Solomon, I'm so glad in particular that you have been with us today because we need to engage each other. We really, really, really do. So let me start with you, Dr. Amar, and I'm going to go around. Dr. Amar?
You know what? We either realize that what we need is a common need, and that as a people, we must come together. This is in the best tradition of who we have always been. We've always made ourselves better as a country when the people who are empowered care about the people who are exploited. And when we can begin to stand together and push the people who are empowered to do for the people who are disempowered or replace them. That's what Mom Donnie's victory is showing us. People are tired of Democrats and they're tired of Republicans because they are tired of being lied to and ignored and exploited. And so when there are other voices that come to the table, then we can stop having to constantly be faced with a choice of choose between the lesser of two evils. And maybe we get to choose for the person who actually might help us. So help each other.
Absolutely. Rania?
I'm not quite as nice as Rush. I am going to ruffle feathers because I've been wanting to jump in on this Solomon stuff. I'm not sorry, but I agree. We should be engaging each other, and we should also be speaking the truth. So, Solomon, you're talking about being brainwashed. Let me tell you, my friend, I feel like you're captain of the brainwash team. And I'm not saying that to be ugly. It's just true. Do you know who gets the biggest handouts and subsidies from this government? The fossil fuel industry and the military industrial complex. That's who gets the most money from this government. So you want to take food out of the mouths of babies? You want disabled people to go to work so they can earn their health care? No, my friend. No. I don't know if you consider yourself a Christian or not, but that is not any kind of Christ-like that I know about. And I'm sorry, I got to say this because Santita's way nicer than me too. Please do not tell her about her father. We do not need that kind of mansplaining around here. Do not tell her about her father and who supported him and about what happened. She was there. I hope that nobody in your life suffers the fate that is about to be bestowed on the rest of the people in this country. I hope that that does not happen to you or people that you love, because it is miserable. And let me tell you one more thing, and then I swear I'm going to stop. Donald Trump is not stopping anything. He has sent $12 billion in more bombs to the state of Israel to bomb and massacre my people. He also just sent $30 million from USAID to the supposed Gaza Humanitarian Foundation that is also massacring people who are being intentionally starved to death by this country and by the Israeli government. So do not come here with that BS, because that's what it is. It is not true. And if we're going to engage each other, we need to speak truth. And that's to you too.
That is true, Solomon. It is all true. It is all true. My brother, it is true. Rush.
Well, I was talking about not ruffling Rania's feathers, by the way, not Solomon. Just wanted to throw that out there, which is a great case in point right now. Hey, folks, I don't want to get into what I call preach mode, but I've always shared when I talk with like some schools or wanting to give like some pointers about life, I'm going to rank to you all really quickly the things in life you don't mess with. And you're going to laugh at the first one. Number 4, don't mess with people's hair. Exclude me out of it. You don't mess with, if you mess with people's hair, you go to the salon, you mess it, that is really trouble. Number 3, you don't mess with people, don't mess with people's money. If people start to lose money, that is when people start to act. Number 2, you do not mess with people's food. If food costs too much, or bottom line, you go to a restaurant and they screw up your food or something isn't right with your food, it really pisses people off. And the number one thing, you do not mess with anyone, whether it's in the United States or anywhere around the world, it's people's health. And right now you have a bill that clearly affects millions of people, and we must make that a point when it comes to the next election. You are literally going to be cutting healthcare for about 17 million people. And by the way, when it comes to health, my friends, that's not about Democrat, that's not about Republican. It's about everyday people who will be severely affected. And by the way, I am not condoning or promoting, the healthcare executive that was killed by the Italian guy, Luigi Mangione. Yes, I'm not condemned. That's not how we do things. But at the same time, it's bills like this where people lose healthcare access. That is what drives people to stuff like this. And we all need to pay attention to it. But that's why we need to hit the streets, knock doors, and change people's minds and get the right people in office. It's really, really, really hard. But that's, to me, the path of how we change things.
Chaparral, you get the final word.
Thank you, Santita. And I wanted to say to Solomon, he mentioned that it was the Democratic Party. Solomon, we are very much aware that this is a bipartisan betrayal. We have been sold out by both parties, Democratic and Republican Party, to the highest bidder of the corporations, and they have sold their souls for $1. And the reality is that no matter who betrayed us, we have still been betrayed. And the reality is that we are needing these benefits. People like me who have 4 kids and they're with special needs. If they don't receive that, Solomon, if they don't receive the health care that they desperately need, they may die. And so that bothers me, that I have to make a choice between life or death for children. That should bother you. If a child in America is not fed or not receiving proper health care, that should bother you. And we have the amount of money that we're sending to these endless wars. We can afford to feed and house and clothe and provide health care for every American in a bat of an eye. So we are making choices not to do these things. And that is my concern. And so when you think about, when you go home tonight and you lay in your bed, you think about the children, the 17 million people who will be without. You may have today, but tomorrow you may not have it. And so I'm saying to you is that you have to think about a compassionate America, to have more compassion for those who do not have or who's struggling like me, because we need these benefits and we deserve these benefits, and it should be mandated that we have them. I believe in universal single payer system, and that's why I'm hoping that that's the only benefit that I'm hoping that this collapse of the system that they're doing is that we'll get a better product out of it. And thank you so much, Santita.
And we won't have a better product until we demand it. It's a government of the people, by the people, and it's supposed to be for the people. It's our choice. I love the Lord's Prayer because we're commanded to, we are told that, we're about a thought away from having heaven on earth. Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name, thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. It's already been done in heaven. Our thinking is bad. I'm not willing to take food out of someone's mouth or deny them medication. No, I'm not that perfect. I have no right to do that. Imposing work requirements. Poor people work every day. They're the ones who bolster the economy. Just like the economy was bolstered by enslaved people working every day. Stop it. And I mean, I'm hearing you, but you're buying into a lot of myths.
Mhm.
That you're doing well because you are good. You're doing well because you are smart and because you work hard. Honey, more and more, you can be very clear. People get to the top not because they are so great, but because they're selected to be there. We're talking about people are talking about overpopulation. Who people who run the world? They're telling you there are too many people here. That's a myth. It's a lie, and they're behaving like it because a lot of folks are not going to be here. At the end of the
By
day,
shutting down USAID alone, they're killing millions.
you know what? And mind you, USAID has some issues because they have done a lot of things. They have used soft power in a way. They've used the intelligence community to do a lot of misdeeds. But the good things that they have done have been good. The bad things that they have done have been bad, and it needs to be reformed. But I believe in mending and not ending. America's got to decide that, you know what? That's not my oil up underneath your feet. Your stuff does not belong to me. That's something that the whole Western world is having to deal with right now. France is getting kicked out of Africa. France is propped up by African people. Britain has been propped up by everybody else. Enough. And I'm going to tell you something. Yes, that's right. USAID, no one steals more money than the Pentagon. They're the only part of our government that does not have to give their money back to the government if they have not spent all the money. Every other department must do that. So let's just stop. I'm not looking for assigning blame. You don't know what my politics are. I've never told you who I voted for, Solomon. I'm not talking about Republicans and Democrats. It's two wings of the same bird. Left wing, right wing, same bird. It's a bipartisan betrayal. It's what it is. We're being betrayed here. The social safety net is being thrown out, and the common good is being shredded. The social contract is being thrown out the window. That ought to be more important to you than anyone being a Democrat or Republican. These folks don't care about that. Elon's been a Democrat. He's been a Republican. So has Trump. These folks don't do parties. They do power. Poor people do parties. Get over it. It's not about a party. It's about the people. George Washington told you we would dissolve into a tyrannous nation if we stayed with a two-party system. He said, please don't do that. Listen to us, read his valedictory address. He said, please don't do that. Don't do it. It's not about a party, it's about people. It's about your child and the adult that you become who's not denied medication. I've got a father who's struggling with Parkinson's disease right now. Thank God. We've been blessed enough, and it is costing a lot to keep him alive, but I'm going to do it. But most people can't do that. And that's a horrible thing. Nobody deserves that. I don't care what Dr. Oz says. And I don't care how many lies Democrats and Republicans tell you. Everybody's lying to you. Because if they tell you that we cannot afford to take care of everybody in this country, they are lying to you. And Democrats and Republicans lie to you. There's a floor beneath which no one should fall. And when Dr. King called out the military-industrial complex, arguing to create a floor beneath which no one should fall, that's when they killed him. They didn't mind him desegregating America. They minded him going after these bombs and saying, give us some bread. And I don't mind if that's the way I go. Because I want people to live. And that's what we ought to be fighting for. Let's not fight each other. Let's fight for each other. These Republicans and Democrats don't care about you. You got Chuck Schumer talking about, I changed the name. Look at how wonderful I am. Aren't you tired? You changed the name, but you didn't change the game. Enough. You know what I mean? They're talking about Diddy. They're not talking about you. They don't care about you. We have a woman here who's got a child with stage 4 cancer. These cuts will kill this child. And she's not alone. That's what you ought to be thinking about. That's what you ought to be thinking about. That's it. That's all. Nothing else. All these bombs are dropping everywhere. That's it. That's all. You ought to be tired of that. You need bread. You don't need a bomb. What did Prince say at the end of 1999, that song? He said, Mommy, why does everybody have a bomb? Remember that? Mommy, why does everybody have a bomb? You need bread, everybody. And maybe this bill is the wake-up call that we need to make our union perfect. To create a floor beneath which no human being falls. Maybe that's what we need, Alia, Rania, Rush, Pro. Maybe this is what we need. Maybe this is the kick in the pants we need. Instead of letting life just pass us by, you need to fight. You need to fight for yourself. And you need to fight for your neighbor. Because it's not enough that you're okay. Your neighbor needs to be okay. And stop looking at them. Stop looking down on people. Some people are not working because their spirits are broken. Pray for them and try to help lift them up. My father said no one should be putting someone in a ditch unless you are standing at the ditch trying to lift them out of it. Let's lift everybody out of these ditches. You know where you've been, you don't know where you're going. One day it might be you. Keep on living, honey. It might be you. Think about that in this 4th of July season. That's what Paula says, rant, baby, rant. She knows I can go. I can get a little warm. But I am. I'm thinking about all these people. Thinking about all these children. I'm thinking about all these human beings. I'm getting the short end of the stick. I see you, Evangelist Jackson. John Wiley Price, we love him. And I love you, Solomon. I love you, Correctional Officer, for the lockdown. We don't have to agree. I'm glad that you know that even when we disagree, that we're still family. And we all need Jesus, Solomon, starting with you. You don't need to tell Bernadette she needs Jesus. You need, everybody needs Jesus. So just get off your high horse, sweetie. Everybody needs Jesus. Whatever faith, look, Jesus got some great lessons for everybody. And whatever your faith tradition is, we all need to cling to it and act like we're believers, because most of us do not believe, because that's how we're acting. I rest my case. All these self-professed, whatever you are. You don't believe because you don't want to feed anybody. You don't want to be kind to anybody. That's when I'll know that you truly Muslim, Jewish, Christian, whatever. I'll know that you're truly human if you want to be kind to somebody. Show me that part. I love you all, everybody. Have a blessed holy day. And Rania, I love you, girl. AM 950 Radio. I love you, Rush. I love you, Alia. I love you,
I
Chappelle.
love you too.
I love y'all. That's right. Oh, no, wait a minute. AM 950 Radio, the voice of progressive Minnesota. Now, hold on. Bernadette and Solomon. Now, we're going to hug it out before we get out of here. Bernadette, I love my Bernadette. I love my Solomon. I love all of us. And we're just going to be kind to each other. We can disagree without being disagreeable. We're not going to do that. We're not going to curse each other, and we're not going to tell somebody that we've cursed ourselves. We're going to bless. That's all we're going to do here. That's all we're going to do. Even when I rant and I get warm, and Rania does too, because I saw her come up in the camera with her finger. That means she's hot. Yeah, I know he crossed the line, but and Solomon apologized to Bernadette. Apologize to her, sweetie. Go on and do that. Because we want to stay right here, and I don't want Bernadette to walk away from here not feeling well, and you should not want that. So I'm gonna wait here for a minute, Solomon, because I want you to apologize to her, because if you gave her offense, and you might not have meant to, and if you didn't mean to, that's all right. And let's heal the world, everybody. But Solomon, I need you to apologize to Bernadette because she's feeling some kind of way. Don't let her leave like this. And you're a big enough man to do that. Come on, sweetie, do that.
Here we go.
All right, thank you.
Yay! All right, we're done.
All right, and that's how we're gonna do this. All right. I love you, everybody. And whatever your faith tradition, I'm Christian, and I'm a committed Christian. Absolutely. I don't play when it comes to Jesus. But everybody here, whatever your faith tradition is, whether you're in or out of faith, I not only respect it, I love it. And we're going to love each other here. We're going to bless each other here. That's all we're going to do. You ought to be tired of hate. I'm so tired of hearing about tolerating each other. That is not where I come from. The commandment is to first ye love one another. And we're going to start growing and loving one another. I didn't say we had to like each other. I said love. Because when you love someone, you forgive their faults or their shortcomings or things that bother you about them. Let's start loving each other. Let's start fighting for each other. There's more than enough in this world for us to have all that we need. My pastor said, I've never seen God make a mouth that God could not feed. It is a sin for anybody to be hungry, for anyone to be unhoused, and I mean decently. For anyone to be treated disrespectfully, it is a sin, and the world is going to hell because that is how we treat people. You gotta stop it. And we're gonna do that right here on this chat line. We're gonna love each other, even as we go off and get warm. And as Rania goes up in the camera and goes like this. That's all right. I ain't mad at you, girl.
Love you one another, and whosoever eats his fill while his neighbor goes hungry.
Amen.
From among us.
Amen.
Walk with the people who walk with God. Walk with the people who care about humanity.
That's it.
Do not eat your fill. Do not have your big barbecue and the whole nine, and your neighbor goes hungry. If this bill or anything else threatens the sanctity of your humanity and your compassion to your brothers and your neighbors, then you will know in your heart that it is wrong, and you should know that you must fight wrong when you see it. Make sure that your neighbor has what you have. What is what you have worth when your neighbor goes hungry?
It's not worth anything. It's not worth anything. I'm not okay unless you're okay.
Mm-hmm.
And that's it.
That's
Does
it.
anyone else have anything else they want to say? That's perfectly fine.
I'm messing with
I'm
messing with Rush's
anti-fireworks.
last
Just
room.
Rush says, I am trying to do like this. Okay.
I'm over here messing with Rush's last room. My hair is doing all kinds of stuff.
Oh, your hair looks fabulous. Get out of here.
You know,
Just
That's
look at
all
my
right.
head and you'll be thankful with whatever you got.
I have
Every
almost
follicle
been
you have
there.
is a blessing, Dr. Daniel.
Oh my God.
I have
Perspective, my
almost been
brother.
there. No. When I was a freshman in high school, my mother cut my hair off. I had an inch of hair. I had an inch. I had a teeny weeny afro, or such as it was. Why? Because I got a little relaxer, which took out every strand of hair that I had. So we had to cut it off. I can't get a relaxer. I can
Yeah.
blow it out. That's it. That's all I can do. Otherwise, my hair it all fell out. She said, "Well, we'll have to cut it all off and start again." So that and Rush, you're so handsome. You don't need hair.
I feel so much better, Santita, because for a second I looked at everyone's beautiful hair. I was ready to fly to Turkey,
No, you can
get one of those jobs,
No,
come
and
back
you
with
know,
like the holes in my head.
no. Oh no, please don't do that. Because we had a friend who did that, and now we have another friend who just paints his stuff on. Yes, Rania, like that. Yes, and he's a very prominent member of the Black community in Chicago, and he has not tattooed. He has painted that his hairline in, and it looks, yes, sweet.
Santita, I'm
Lord.
married. I'm out of the game. If I was not married, I'm still in the game. Then there's a chance that it would happen. But I
Yep.
got nothing to prove, man. I'm done. My
It
wife
wouldn't happen,
and
Rush.
women could
Those of
relate.
us-
I am my judgment is based on the chores that I do around the house. That is where I excel. If I take out the dishes, I am the guy. I can be 3% body fat, full head of hair. It doesn't matter. But if I take the dishes out of the dishwasher, oh man, let's go.
That's real.
Let's go.
That's so
Rania, you
real.
with me? You guys with me on this
Oh,
or what?
yeah.
We love you.
Absolutely.
Happy wife, happy life. What?
Oh man, she has a lot of hair. Let me tell you, folks.
Yes, she does. Yes.
Full head of hair. It's all working out.
Look, and you're so handsome. It's all good.
Thank you.
Nope.
Now I'm blushing and sweating.
That's all
Thanks,
right.
Santita.
And Rush, we would never let you tattoo your head in Chicago. You know, I would show up and be like, "Come on, brother, what did you do? Do you need
What did you do?
medication?"
Right. I get
Thank
some.
you. Keep me in check, please.
I promise
Yes.
for God, we get some flesh colored paint that'd be your flesh color, and we paint it so you would not look crazy. I'm like, no, I can't let you go out like that.
Truth is, I'll just get a toupee. I'm gonna get a headpiece.
Don't
make
do
it
that.
easy.
Don't do that. I don't want you to do that because you know what? It's interesting. You adjust to what you look like. I mean, you now. I think you are so handsome, honestly.
But you
Well,
also have
Santita?
such a nice head. Like you've got a nice shaped head. It's not like
You
you've
know,
got
guys,
some I'm just saying.
That
Why
trip,
would you
No,
cover?
that
no,
trip
no.
to Turkey, I'm no longer going. That's it. We are staying here in
I'm telling
Chicago.
you.
No
I mean,
more.
No, you
I'm
look
sold.
so handsome. It's okay.
Thank
I'm
you,
telling
Eb.
you.
We'll
Yeah, I
take
mean,
it.
I'm telling you, you look so handsome. Praise the Lord.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And thank your parents that you hit the lotto. The
And
DFA
all
lotto.
you ladies look great. Even though Shapiro, I thought would make an appearance. She's got a nice profile photo, but I thought she would make an appearance at some point where the camera gets on. But
It sounded like she was in the car though, so be
Yes,
safe if you're
I am
driving.
in the
Yes.
car.
We're
Okay.
gonna grab her
Coming back
next
from
time.
summer
She's
camp, you know,
gorgeous.
you got to keep the
think
She's
kids.
about it.
gorgeous.
The
When she
one
makes an
little-
appearance, you'll see.
the one little shot I tried to give Shapiro, and the women came right. It was just a soft, hey, be nice with the camera. Well, Rush, she's driving. How do you not know that? Wake up, Rush. She is working. She is driving. Don't worry about her profile video or whatever. Don't worry about that.
What? There you go. Look, see? Isn't that wonderful how the sisters take care of each other? You go like,
Yeah,
see
I
that.
love it. I'm here for it.
You
But
guys
I
are
love
all
you
great.
all.
Thank you so much.
But I
God
wanna
bless
Okay,
you all.
love y'all.
Paula just said he looks great with the shaved head, handsome. Hello. Wait a minute. And then Jewel said he has the mustache too. I'm giving it all to you, honey. There it is. There you go. Now,
Screenshotting all this, show my wife I am still in the game. Still relevant here, marketable.
You
Baby,
got to keep
you
taking
are-
that garbage out.
you are still relevant. You
There
are
you
still
go.
relevant.
All right, well,
love
guys,
you
I gotta
all.
go vacuum. So take care.
Bye,
Love you.
y'all.
God
Much
bless you
love.
all.
Bye, everyone.
Much love.
everybody.
Bye-bye.